Hello everyone, this is Brad Tallis with Next Gen Solutions, and welcome to the first episode of Banter with Brad. In this series, I answer questions and topics sent to me from you, the viewers. I'll show different ways to approach the problem and share some tips and methods that hopefully will help you on your future projects. If you want your question or topic to appear on an upcoming episode of Banter with Brad, please email them to me at bradtallis@nextgensolutions.com. Okay, so our first question was sent to me from Eric S. He asked, when you perform a contour operation with tabs and the mill is moving up and over the tabs during the cutting operation, when it gets to the far side of the tab, it will slam the Z-axis down very fast during this plunge maneuver. What is the best way to make this a more controlled and gentler Z-axis move? Well, let's take a look at what Eric is talking about. Okay, so in this example, let's say we want to cut this wooden plaque out of a larger piece of wood, and I want it to be held in place with some tabs as it's being manufactured so it doesn't shift around. So I'm going to create a 2D contour toolpath, and let's just select maybe like a 1/4 inch flat end mill for the tool. I'll go into the geometry tab and select this bottom contour so it cuts all the way around. You'll notice there's an option in here for tabs, so I'm going to turn that on. And it gives us a nice preview of these tabs, and you can see we can change the shape, width, height, positioning, etc. In this case, I think they're a little bit thin, so let's just make the tab height to be like 0.125, and it gives us a nice preview of what that's going to look like. I can also specify the positioning by distance or by number of tabs. So I'm going to say number of tabs. And right now it's only creating one tab. If I increase this, it allows me to place, for example, like 4 tabs all the way around the contour. I personally like to do manual tabs because I like to control where the tab is going to be created, especially if I have a shape, that has like some curvature to it. I like to put the tab where there's like a flat edge, so it's easier to sand or file off, for example. So I'm just going to go ahead and place a couple tabs around the object real quick. If you click on an existing tab, you can move it around if you want to, so I'll place that more in the center. And let's just say OK and do a simulation to see what this looks like. Now I could hit play, but I'm actually going to scrub. So I'm going to just click and hold with my left mouse button, and you can see that we can actually kind of scrub almost like a movie. So I already see one issue. It's plunging straight down very deep into my material, which can put a lot of stress on the machine and on the tool. So I obviously want to fix that. But as I continue scrubbing along, here is the question. So you'll notice it's going to cut the tab. So it lifts up, goes across, and then plunges straight down again. And again, that's putting a lot of stress and strain on the machine and on the tool. And you can see it's creating this rectangular tab. And you can even see where it lifts up, comes across, and then moves back down again. So how do we make this smoother? Well, I like to use the triangular tab. So instead of rectangular, I like to use triangular. And you can even see in the little thumbnail preview, it's going to ramp up a little bit, and then it's going to ramp slowly down. So I'm going to say triangular, gives us a nice preview. Looks a little too small. Let's go ahead and make those like 0.375 in width. That looks a little bit better. I'll say OK. And let's simulate what that looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and scrub along. And here you're going to see it's going to ramp up, go across a little bit, and then ramp back down. And that's much smoother because the machine is still moving forward as it's doing this. I feel like it has a less chance of creating tooling marks where the tab is. And sure enough, if we look at that, you can kind of see what the tab looks like as it ramps up and then ramps back down again. I also find these kind of tabs easier to remove, to sand or file off when they're done. Okay, so let's go back to figuring out how to solve this problem where it's just plunging straight in. So I'm going to edit the toolpath. One of the things is it plunged all the way down. So if I go into my passes tab, you can see I can specify multiple depths. So I'm going to go ahead and click on multiple depths. And this allows me to specify like how deep do I want each level to be. And maybe because this is kind of a small cutter, I only want to go 0.125 for the depth. And I'll say OK. And we can see how it created 3 tool paths for me. And if we were to preview this, I'll go ahead and hit play. It's going to go a much smaller depth and then plunge down again and go to the next depth. And then here, probably on this third pass, you'll see it start to create the tabs. I guess it's on the 4th pass it'll do the tabs. There you go. You can kind of see it's doing the triangular tabs. So that's one method. Okay. The other method is to add ramping. And I do this a lot. On pretty much all the woodworking, I like to add in a ramp. So under the linking tab, you'll see it's doing lead-ins. So that's where it kind of comes in at a radius and then starts to cut so it doesn't plunge right next to the material. But ramping allows you to specify, for example, a ramping angle and a maximum step down. And for example, this is set to 2 degrees. I'm just going to say OK, and notice the preview. So we can kind of see that it's coming down, and then it's going to slowly ramp in at a 2-degree ramp. So let's take a look at the simulation. So right now it's basically cutting some air until it starts to enter into the material right there. And you can see it's doing a much gentler entry and then continuing around. So it's not plunging 3 or 4 times like it did before to at that one location. It's actually kind of just doing a spiral all the way around. So yes, this does take a little bit longer in machine time, but it leaves much nicer finish, and it's not as hard on the tool and on the machine. So Eric, thank you for sending that question in. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully this helps you on your future projects. So, hopefully you all learned something new with that tip. If you want your question or topic on the next Banter with Brad, please email them to me at bradtallis@nextgensolutions.com. And I look forward to seeing you on the next Banter with Brad. Thank you.